It is 2019, a new era, a new time to be alive, a new season of League of Legends, even though it's still the preseason. It's not officially Season 9 yet, but here we are for our first episode in 2019, and we're moving on to power rankings for Korea. And by the way, we're just over 2 weeks away from competitive action returning in Korea, and then the LCS and LEC follow right after. So we really got to get rolling with the previews. So we're moving on to those power rankings for Korea, going 10-1, much like we did for North America. And coming in at number 10 was a bottom feeder at times in 2018 summer. It was the Jin Air Greenwings, and they got a new look roster for 2019, but it is not up to the same standard or level of competitiveness as the rest of the squads in the LCK, because there are some stacked rosters in 2019. A lot of new faces here on Jin Air. Obviously, the main change is Teddy leaving, going to SKT, and probably 2 out of their 4, maybe even 3 out of their 4 wins came solely on the back of Teddy carrying in that bottom lane. So hard-pressed to see Jin Air getting more wins than they did in the summer split. Only Grace and Nova are returning from that roster. And other than that, it's a whole bunch of new guys coming in. Linderong, formerly of Hanwha Life. Stitch comes in from G-Rex, and Malrang was playing on the Challenger Series, that split. And before that, in the jersey, in this picture, he was on the Royal Bandits in the TCL. So he's jumped around a little bit, but he's still a young talent here. But this roster, I just don't see it competing for playoffs with some of these other squads that we've seen the roster reveals for the other LCK squads. And remember, again, only 5 teams are getting into playoffs in the LCK. That's one of the big differences between them and the majority of the other major regions. Is it's even more difficult to get your squad into the playoffs because you got one less spot available. But no Teddy means less wins here for Jin Air. They don't have that late game win condition. Grace was one of the most inconsistent mid laners that we saw. Maybe he was just consistently near the bottom tier of those top laners. Linderong is a guy who could have some fantastic performances, but he was the first blood king in that top lane, and not in a good way. 20% of his, in 20% of their games, he was getting first blooded. So he was getting caught out, overextended quite a bit in that top lane. So 2 relatively big question marks for the solo lanes when it comes to Jin Air in 2019. And even with a couple of new squads coming in Damwon and Battle Comics, who are now Sandbox Gaming, I think even these younger rosters that are really unproven on the big stage in the LCK, I still think they're going to put up better performances than this Jin Air squad, because you're just hard-pressed to kind of see where the win condition is. Where is this team going to accumulate advantages over the other squads? I'm just not sure that the star power is actually there for them to compete for anything outside of not getting relegated or not playing in that promotion tournament. Really, the only chance they have to really finish outside of bottom 2 or bottom 3 is if Malrang in the jungle completely pops off. And really, there's a theme you're going to see here in 2019 in Korea, and it's a lot of these young up-and-coming junglers looking to dethrone some of the vets in the likes of Score or Peanut. They're going to have a lot of challengers approaching their throne, and one of those guys will be Malrang. He's the guy to watch for Jin Air. Again, I talked about he played on Royal Bandits, and then he played in the Challenger Series on Winners, and he was actually one of the better players on that team and one of the better junglers in the entire challenger scene. He's a bloodthirsty guy, as you can see by that kill share. He wants to play these carries, loves the Kazakhs, get ahead of his opposing jungler specifically, and try and just carry the game single-handedly on a lot of these pop-off champions. But the kill participation is actually not there. So really, what those numbers tell you is this guy is a kill-stealing god, which, you know, if you're playing something like a Graves or a Kazakhs, that's probably a good trait to have, to just get completely ahead and snowball this game. But it's going to be the year of the junglers in the LCK, and well, Malrang is the guy to watch, and I think is going to be one of the key win conditions for them to just get Jin Air ahead in the early game, because I feel like that's the only way they're going to be winning any of these games. There's no Teddy late game insurance policy. They need an early game lead to snowball out of control, because when it comes to these late game team fights, I think other rosters are just going to be more talented and will be able to win those fights, even at a slight deficit. They got to snowball quickly and just, get massive numbers there. And Malrang's going to be the guy to do that in that early game. But the rest of the competition in the jungle role in the LCK, it's going to be pretty high stakes. So Malrang's going to have his hands full, and he's still a very young player. Yeah, he's played in a couple of different regions, but on the big stage, he's still relatively inexperienced. So going to be a lot of pressure on him, and he might have some losing lanes to deal with, which will actually make him look not as solid as maybe he actually is as an individual player. But Jin Air going to have their hands full in 2019, and expect to see a lot more sad plain.jpegs, unfortunately, in the new era. But who knows, maybe they surprise and we get some glad planes.